Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So obviously now that Hulkbuster beta barely is live, that is pretty much what everybody's talking about, and everybody's trying to figure out whether Hulkbuster now is a great champion. So unfortunately I am not in Hulkbuster beta myself. However, I did some snooping in online rooms and some forum chats and so on and so forth. So we do have something to show and something to discuss. So first and foremost, before I get to reading all the abilities, I do have a video clip, and the video is coming for MeWe. That's basically a brand new YouTube channel. He posted it on Kabam forums, and I think the two videos that he has on his channel are basically both related to this Hulkbuster beta. You're obviously welcome and check it out on there, but I did basically snag the video here so we can check out that Hulkbuster actually has quite legit damage output. Now it seems that he is running half suicide masteries, which is a fairly odd setup, but fair enough. So he does have increase from suicide masteries. However, he was not running a single synergy with Hulkbuster, and one of the main synergies that people will probably start using when showcasing Hulkbuster is the yellow jacket one, where he can consume one armor buff and gain 30% fury. So that kind of compares to Hulkbuster without suicides and this synergy, but here we are going to see that crazy rotation that Hulkbuster can go in. It kind of reminds me of Warlock rotation or Civil Warrior, which I showcased a while ago. Basically, you can chain heavy attacks straight to your level 2. Obviously, additionally, if you shoot your level 2 in opponent's block, you go unblockable, and you also power drain them. Now, you will power lock the opponent either way, whether it ends up in opponent's block or not, but what you want to do is power drain them to 0 health, and as soon as that happens, after level 2, you want to start stacking those shocks, because shocks basically increase your damage, and that is what you want to do. And that's kind of like your gameplay over there, is to just make sure that you drop level 2 in opponent's block, and then start spamming your heavy attacks straight away after your level 2. Land as many heavy attacks as you can, stack as many shocks as you can, and in addition, that lets you deal a lot of damage. Plus, as we can see here, you pretty much end up at the next level 2. So there definitely seems to be some really interesting potential use for Hulkbuster, and if he comes out like this from beta, he will 100% certainly be a usable character in today's endgame. So it does look quite exciting. Now obviously he does have some other tricks up his sleeve, which we're going to discuss now from basically the ability screenshot that we have also posted on Kabam forums. But yeah, so this is basically the way Hulkbuster looks now. So he took down Winter Soldier in 70 hits with half his suicides active, no synergies. That is certainly a relatively solid performance, especially including the fact that he didn't really push the opponent to level 3. He didn't have to mess about it, baiting special attacks and stuff like that. So it does seem like very attractive playstyle overall. So let's jump now to Kabam forums. And so first and foremost, I guess we're going to look at the actual abilities. I'm sorry if the quality of this enlarged picture isn't the best, but I'm going to try my best to read it for you. So basically, let's start with the Awaken ability. When brought below 15% health, once per fight, he has 100% chance to activate self-repair buff lasting 12 seconds and recovering a whole bunch of health. This buff is lost if Hulkbuster is stunned, so similar to Ultron. Giant Buster, attack rating while self-repair is active, you gain a massive attack, well, relatively decent attack rating increase. So Giant Buster, to explain how his abilities are going to work, basically Hulkbuster has two modes. One of them is activated automatically when you fight as an offensive character. Another one basically enables him to have a completely different set of abilities if you are facing him as a defender. So he is quite a unique and first defender really of its kind. Now we have had champions who gain bonuses if they are fighting on the last node of the quest, like Elsa, I think, and Champion obviously, but this is the first champion that has two really different sets of abilities based whether he's being used as an attacker or defender. So that is quite interesting and also somewhat worrisome. But yeah, basically the Giant Buster is your offensive mode, so you gain a bunch of attack rating while self-repair is active, and obviously self-repair is kind of like Iron Man classic ability of the Arc Overlord. And then if you are in your Iron Wall, then you basically gain more potency and you regain more health. Now, abilities. While fighting as an attacker, enter Giant Buster mode, granting the following: up to 131 attack based rating on how large opponent is, And here we can see that it is coming from a champion with 867 attack, so that would roughly equate to 20% attack increase for each shock, or something close to that. So it is a substantial amount of increase in attack as your Hulkbuster scales up, and you also get 140% attack rating for each shock. Yes, that is what I meant. So basically, while fighting as an attacker, each shock grants you a lot more attack, and also Hulkbuster gains additional amount of attack based on the size of opponents. So if you're going to be taking on XL opponents, you're going to be dealing more damage. While fighting as a defender, you are enhancing his defensive abilities. Start of the fight and every 15 seconds. Gain an indefinite armor up granting 335 armor rating, which is fair enough, decent enough armor up. When you are offensively using Hulkbuster, you can have 2 armor ups max. When you are using Hulkbuster defensively, you can have 4 max armor ups. Now, when brought below 15% health, that's also the threshold of the regen and signature ability. You basically gain an indefinite armor up granting another armor increase, and if you are facing Hulkbuster in defense, he's going to basically gain another armor up, so he's going to get a whole bunch of armor ups when he goes low on health. Now, fighting non-cosmic champions, so he has innate weakness against cosmic champions, and for each armor buff, Hulkbuster gains the following effects: plus 800 energy resistance, and that is a lot of energy resistance for a rank 1 5-star, and also plus 79 critical damage rating, so that increases critical damage for a reasonable margin. Also, incoming bleed and poison debuffs suffer minus 25% potency, and now that is quite interesting, because if you have 2 armor buffs relatively early on in the fight, that means he will effectively be quite a suicide friendly champion, at least by the first look of it, so I'm definitely eager to test it out. And enemy attacks suffer minus 20% offensive ability accuracy for each armor buff, so that is going to be a nightmare for on defense, because he's routinely likely going to have 4 armor buffs, so you're going to be left with 80% ability accuracy reduction when you're facing this guy, unless you're using cosmic champions or using obviously champions that can nullify his armor ups. So that is definitely something to keep in mind, and yeah, it looks like he's going to be a tricky one to solve on defense on some nodes. Also, enemy attacks suffer 125.3 critical damage rating, so also you're hardly ever going to be critting against this guy, which does seem problematic. Now, when struck by critical hits, 60% chance to consume 1 armor buff to inflict a shock debuff, dealing X amount of damage, so you're going to be gaining shocks whilst you are fighting, so he's going to be somewhat like an abomination to a degree as well, where when you are up against this guy, you're going to be eating some shock damage unless you're obviously shock immune, so that can be tricky. For now, everything reads though that he will be kind of like a Corvus food on defense, because Corvus is a cosmic champion, plus your armor break, plus shock heals him anyways, so yeah, probably will work out for Corvus quite well by all accounts. Now, heavy attacks is kind of like the bread and butter of the character. 100% chance to inflict a shock debuff, dealing X amount of damage. And from what I saw, that shock amount of damage isn't really the main point. You're not going to be doing massive amounts of damage thanks to your shock, but that kind of like buffs up all your other abilities, give you more attack rating and everything like that, and lets you ramp up damage by a lot. Plus, obviously, you kind of naturally go into those heavy attack rotation after the level 2. Now, special attacks. Now, this is for all of the special attacks. 100% chance to inflict an armor break debuff, removing 1 armor buff and reducing armor rating by 2,850, and that's his massive armor break for a rank 1 5-star character, so that armor break is going to be extremely potent, but it's only 1, unfortunately. That would be really interesting implications if he could stack many armor breaks, and yeah, so 100% chance to gain an unblockable buff lasting 1 second, so all of your special attacks are unblockable. And also, when you are going to be facing him on defense, you need to keep in mind that his level 2 is still the same animation, so it's extremely tricky to wade, and it's always going to be unblockable, so you pretty much never want to push him to level 2. Now, special attack 1, 100% chance to stun for a second and a half, which is a good, reliable, guaranteed stun. Already guarantees the fact that he will have methods of cheese against power reserve nodes and stuff like that. Basically anything that has a guaranteed stun in it grants you a guaranteed cheese, and like brute force, I think, and power reserve, or burden of might and power reserve, and a couple other nodes. So yeah, that is definitely cool. If the opponent block is broken by the attack, all Hulkbuster's armor buffs are consumed to add 1.25 seconds duration to the stun debuff for each armor up. So you can potentially stun opponent for a really long time, but this isn't the preferred rotation from what I have seen so far, but it's a handy piece of utility nonetheless. Now special attack 2 is kind of like the breadwinner, because if the opponent block is broken by this attack, all beam attacks have 100% chance to inflict power burn, draining 1 bar of power per hit and inflicting direct damage proportional to the power drained. So you have 3 hits on the beam, so basically you can drain 100% of opponent's max power, and you will, because it's 100% chance, so it's amazing. Also, you have 100% chance to power lock opponents, severing target's flow of power for 3 seconds. Now, it's a very, very short power lock, you need to remember that. So the power lock utility itself isn't going to be the best one, and your aim will kind of be always to throw this in a block, which is going to mean some sort of learning curve. And here we have special attack 3. This attack drains 50% of opponent's current power and inflicts up to 3 shock debuffs, with each having an 80% chance to activate, dealing X amount of damage over 20 seconds. So you basically get 3 shock debuffs over 20 seconds, so they last quite a while and will increase all of your damage output. Now, unblockable buffs triggered during this attack gain plus 4.5 seconds duration, and you're gonna go unblockable for 5.5 seconds, which is also super helpful. So base ID is still special 2 is the one you look for. I think there might be a small cut of an ability missing where you gain an armor buff every 15 seconds. Oh no, here it goes. Started the fight and every 15 seconds. Yes, that is it. Gain an indefinite armor buff. So that is how you just gain them periodically. Every 15 seconds you gain an armor buff by itself. And yeah, that is how he functions. So we already saw the video, and he obviously also has new synergies, and new synergies here we're gonna go down this route, and arguably the best one, the one that I'm interested in, is launching a special attack converts 1 armor buff into a fury buff lasting 10 seconds, granting 30% attack. Now that fury is quite potent and definitely will help to increase the damage. Unfortunately, Yellow Jacket sucks, and it's not gonna be practical to run that synergy outside of any other occasion other than specifically buffing Hulkbuster for showcase of a video or just proving a point or something like that. So even though it's a great synergy, it sucks because it's the Yellow Jacket, and Yellow Jacket's not gonna get magically better with it because it doesn't really do too much. Now he also has synergies with Hulk and Hulk Ragnarok, so up to 1000 armor rating based on how low Hulkbuster's current health is. It's nothing too great, I think. I doubt I'd ever particularly rely on it or want to use it. Now, Hulk Classic immune to Nullify, Fate Seal, and Stagger. It can be helpful in some scenarios, I suppose, if you are bringing your Hulk against stuff like Pilfer, but again, Hulk isn't really the most used champion. This will not elevate him to practically being used too much. Now, Hulk Ragnarok gains up to 1000 physical resistance based on how high the crowd meter is. And again, I don't think this is something excellent, but Hulk Ragnarok at least is a good champion you might plausibly want to bring in a quest with you, so that might be useful at some certain points and situations. Now, engineering experts with Reed Richards and both Black Panthers. Each shock debuff reduces the opponent's offensive ability accuracy during special attacks by 15%. It can come in handy. I doubt you'd want to rely on it too much, but hey, that's a substantial decrease. This synergy, again, because it's with Mr. Fantastic, and Mr. Fantastic definitely has his uses, and also Hulkbuster being the champion that spams a lot of heavy attacks and can sustain it, could synergize quite well together, because then you can use pre-fight abilities, bring in Hulkbuster, and just kind of like smash more, I guess. And Hulkbuster would also lower the ability accuracy of opponent's special attacks, but the whole point is to force opponent not to throw special attacks. So we'll see how useful it is. Now, Reed Richards plus 1000 physical resistance, kind of cool. Black Panther's bleed ability accuracy and potency could make some interesting video with Black Panther perhaps, and Black Panther Civil War, armor up ability accuracy and potency. Again, nothing you really would benefit from offensively. And then there is a bunch of crit nodes basically with anybody in Thanos' army and Ultron. And then we have family with all of the Iron Man. And that is about it. So, it does look quite promising. It definitely does seem that Hulkbuster could potentially make his way up to level of Venom, level of Colossus maybe, depending obviously how well he scales, how well he fits in, how practical he is to use by happenstance, on what content he's suitable with, because currently he would potentially be extremely good for variant 3 because he's a tech champion, and especially because there are some nodes which, like Final Kang boss, relies you to be able to access the shock debuffs consistently. So that is quite interesting, and there is something to be done there. Obviously, he's going to be good Havoc counter. Obviously, he's going to be good for variant 2 because he's an extra large champion. And probably he's also going to be quite good for variant 1 because he has potent power control abilities, and that chapter is kind of all about power control. So it does seem like Hulkbuster, as he stands in beta right now, does have quite a lot going on for him. Now, whether obviously he will make his way like this or altered to actual game in a month remains to be seen. My hope is that there is one slight additional ability added to Hulkbuster, and that would be for him to somehow be able to refresh those shocks with like regular hits or medium hits or light hits or whatever, something like that. So you can spam your heavy attacks, but you're not necessarily always mandatorily forced to just kind of like throw your heavy attacks in order to keep up your damage, because obviously it did look quite impressive, but also the entire fight was pretty much composed of heavy attacks, and that I don't know, we'll see how it works out. I'm definitely happy with the way he's looking like. Obviously he's also going to be relatively tricky on defense if you face him with the wrong opponent. He will have good counters in shape of Corvus, in shape of nullified champions, I guess, and cosmic champions in general, but obviously he will also be made quite tricky on several nodes. For instance, if he's put in a node where you cannot armor break or nullify him, he's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. You can trust me on that, but yeah, it does look interesting, it does look innovative, and my personal verdict so far would be that I'm extremely optimistic of his value and of his potential should he make it in the game in the current version. But yeah, I believe I have held you guys up for long enough. Let me know what you guys think. If you have some really cool Hulkbuster footage and you happen to be in the beta, then do not hesitate to hit me up online. I will try my best to record and make some video commentaries on it. And huge thank you to all of the people who actually did post. This particular forum post came from Calling Out, and I think the video from one second, I probably can find that. Yeah, here we go. This is the person who posted the sub 70 hit thing. So yeah, there are obviously going to be many more videos available quite soon, so just go on YouTube and search them up. All that being said, yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, then hit that like button, hit that sub button. If you have any comments to make on Hulkbuster and how do you think he's going to turn out, then also drop a comment and all that good stuff. But I will go for today because it's getting quite late and I'm a bit knackered. Alright guys, see ya.